combined Vyasa Puja celebrations of His Holiness Romapada Maharaj, Hanumatpresaka Maharaj, Bhakti Vikasa Maharaj, and Radhanath Maharaj. We're starting the program now. First, we'll start with the Vyasa Puja offering readings, and followed by 11 o'clock, His Holiness Harivlas Maharaj will give a class. 12 o'clock will be the Raj Bhog Aarti, and 12:30 we'll do the Pushpanjali, followed by the Aarti and followed by Pushpanjali.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Ready, Prabhu? Hare Krishna. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Romapada Swami Niti Namine. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dear Guru Maharaj, Hare Krishna, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to your divine grace. On this auspicious occasion of your Vyasa Puja celebration, we would like to express our sincere gratitude for accepting us as your disciples and giving us shelter. Our journey towards reviving the dormant Krishna consciousness started by attending a Discover Yourself course here in ISKCON Seattle VCC. It's an accidentally happened. The very same year we met you for the first time in Seattle ISKCON Temple. We got introduced to your in-person lectures at VCC during occasions like Thanksgiving weekends and Japa retreats. Japa retreat is our best outing, and every year we await that time for gaining your personal association. Kids plan and talk about this event all through the year. We were inspired by your lectures and workshops organized under your guidance, especially during Japa retreats, to increase both quantity and quality of chanting. Your lectures have more practical tips and have nothing but pure nectar about Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. We learned great qualities such as being punctual, dealing with respect, planning ahead of time, being compassionate, and prioritizing things from you, as we observe these qualities in you and in your actions. We always contemplate your instruction on priorities, health, job, family and kids, chanting and service, to check if we are heading in the right direction and balancing it all. You enlighten us on a regular basis with your personal email communication whenever we need any guidance and provide clarification when we are in doubt. We are very grateful to you for so many wonderful hearing opportunities you create for us on a regular basis, even though we are situated miles apart. Using the technology, we can remain connected. We feel that you are just a click away and always connected through your heart-transforming lectures and personal emails. You have dedicated tremendous long hours of effort in research in our Vedic literature. Your quality of fearlessness to travel around to ensure that fallen souls like myself connect with your lectures and discussions daily with your live streams, sometimes multiple times per day. All the lectures were thorough and deep. It just shows your love towards Lord Krishna and the scriptures to glorify him. Your lectures often bring a sudden tranquility to a hectic and chaotic day. Dear Guru Maharaj, you are absorbed 100% in serving the instructions and mission of your beloved spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. Your faith that a spiritual master lives forever by his divine instructions and the follower lives with him shows your Guru Bhakti and inspires me to follow your guidelines. You lead by example in exhibiting exemplary dedication to your spiritual master. You have instructed and trained us in a way where our relationship with Srila Prabhupada and the entire disciplic succession is continuously nurtured. All your services are directed towards fulfillment of the instructions of your spiritual master, especially in assisting the devotees in their journey towards Krishna. You spend countless hours and hours in preparing for lectures, which is the life force for moving forward in our bhakti. Your words and messages filled with purity melts and transforms the hearts of the audience. Maharaj, I want to remember some lectures of you, which I recently heard. From your recent Gita Nagari retreat lectures on gratitude, we learned the deeper connection between bhakti and the feeling of gratitude. Time and again you taught us how to lead life in gratitude and to be ever grateful to one who nourished bhakti in us. Instead of just taking things for granted, you taught us that daily reflections of gratitude can allow one to achieve maturity, as feelings of gratitude are the beginnings of loving relationships. You also taught us that when our love and care goes to the soul, there can be detachment from all circumstantial things. The best way to express our gratitude is to serve with genuine love and sincerity. I always contemplate on the personal message which you shared last year with me, that discipline alone makes heart hard, but discipline with feelings of gratitude makes heart soft. And it is more effective than just discipline alone. I realize this fact in many situations in my life. O Guru Maharaj, in your most recent lecture on the theme of alignment, you have explained in detail about how the proper alignment and persistent realignment of body, mind and heart will help us to achieve bhakti. Body represents our behaviors, mind represents our values and beliefs, and heart represents our deeply held beliefs. When they are properly aligned, this will make us bhakti possible towards Krishna. Also, your popular tag that says yes to chanting, say yes to serve, say yes to Krishna. The letter Y in S represents yearning, the longing. E represents enthusiasm and S represents spontaneous or voluntary. This always helps me to chant and serve with proper yes attitude. Again, on this auspicious occasion of your Vyasa Puja, we would like to express our gratitude for all the blessings, guidance and encouragement you are giving us, and thank you so much for making us fortunate by giving shelter at your lotus feet and letting us join the transcendental parampara of disciplic succession in our life. Maharaj, I pray that Supreme Lord continue to grant you health and strength to continue your most valuable mission of leadership, guidance and blessings. Your service to Srila Prabhupada's movement provides strength and stability to all who come in contact with you. Maharaj, I wish that you remain safe from this pandemic, and also pray that your sincere disciples who are at the forefront in directly helping you to carry your duties also to be protected. On this occasion, I would like to express my gratitude to His Holiness Hanumatpresaka Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Vikasa Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj for their tremendous efforts for all our well-being and spiritual progress. I sincerely pray for the health and well-being of all of you. It just feels that you are all one soul with different bodies in fulfilling the mission of Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I would like to sincerely express my gratitude to His Grace Pandavijay Prabhu for kindly requesting me to offer for His Holiness Hanumatpresaka Maharaj. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Giram Yat Kripatamam Vandam Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarini. Hare Krishna. I feel very fortunate to have this opportunity to participate in this most auspicious event of the combined Vyasa Puja celebration of His Holiness Hanumatpresaka Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Vikasa Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Romapada Swami Maharaj, and His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. I don't have any eligibility to understand or appreciate the true substance of a pure devotee whose position is transcendental and is beyond the mundane perceptions and intelligence. But it is still, I am making this feeble attempt to speak about these four exalted personalities who have dedicated their lives for spreading Srila Prabhupada's movement. And I would like to start today's offering with His Holiness Hanumatpresaka Maharaj. His Holiness is known as a pioneer in organizing educational efforts within the institution. He started the online Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhav, the first of its kind, which is fully accredited by ISKCON Ministry of Education. He also started the Education Symposium to collaborate all educational efforts that happen within ISKCON. These efforts, no doubt, will be invaluable for both the current and future generation. Few years ago, we visited Boise and had a good fortune to be in the association of a couple of your disciples, Maharaj. And by the way, all the devotees were wonderful gems that you have produced. And would like to speak few qualities of Maharaj that we have heard from his disciples. Maharaj is extremely austere and renounced in his terms of prasadam he eats. He does not want to discuss too much about what he wants to eat. One Mataji made a couple of items on some occasions which he liked extremely, and he thought she can make them make them every time he comes. When she made them on his very next visit, he did not even touch them. He does not want to entertain any attachment. He is never into people. He has the same enthusiasm to give the class if there are 5 people or there are 100 people. Another amazing quality of Maharaj is his humility. He rarely gives his laundry to anyone. He does not ask for any service. In fact, when he comes and leaves, he cleans his room. He even empties the trash. He sweeps the temple parking lot. He takes out spider webs and etc. All such menial services Maharaj does himself. Maharaj, you are very faithful to your own spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and you have firm conviction that Srila Prabhupada lives forever in his transcendental books. And you are very eager to help the devotees to systematically study Srila Prabhupada books. This you do very expertly by integrating it into the practical devotional process, and that too in the association of the devotees. The way you developed courses like Pada Padma, Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav in North and South American region is very beneficial for the practitioners. Even though using modern technology, you make it very personal by your regular participation in spite of your demanding schedule in the service of Srila Prabhupada. In addition to developing curriculum, out of your humility and compassion to your students, you put yourself as one of the students and sacrifice your time by patiently listening to the presentations and realization, and then patiently answering all the questions. The systematic study is helping the students to a great extent in the day-to-day fight against Maya and our relationship with other devotees and practical services to the Lord. Maharaj, you have unflinching faith in the holy name of the Lord. Chanting is the Yuga Dharma, and you always stress the need to raise early and chant enthusiastic rounds. You have minimized your bodily needs to a great extent to focus on your service to your spiritual master and to chant the holy names of the Lord. Out of your kindness and eagerness to help your students, disciples and other devotees, you have always been chanting extra several rounds for their welfare. This is very similar to the love of a mother for the child, which is the closest thing that a conditioned soul can probably perceive. Many times devotees approach you either to seek advice for their problems or to share their own adventure in Krishna conscious. You always remind them of the simple process that the Lord has given and emphasizing the importance of sadhana bhakti, sadhana bhakti that Srila Prabhupada has given with your deep faith and experience. You simply suggest everyone to follow the regulative principles, associate with devotees, rise early and chant good rounds. For Grahasthas, you have specifically stressed the need to engage in deity worship. Putting Krishna at the center of the household life is the only way to succeed in Grahastha ashram. Although numerically 4 into 4 is 16, and that's the success formula according to you. Wake up at 4 a.m., follow the 4 regulative principles, and chant 16 rounds. Dear Maharaj, I pray at your lotus feet to bestow mercy upon me, and someday I may be able to develop a fraction of these wonderful Vaishnava qualities. His Holiness Hanumatpresaka Swami Maharaj ki jai. My next offering is for His Holiness Bhakti Vikasa Maharaj. Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances at your lotus feet. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. On the occasion of your blessed appearance in this world, I make the following humble offering. Let me begin by offering you heartfelt thanks for enlightening us in the devotional service through your wonderful books and lecture. Your books are highly scholarly, yet very simple, honest and palatable to young and old alike. Your book, Beginner's Guide to Krishna Conscious, has become a gold standard for the newbies in Krishna Conscious. I am one of those who have derived great benefit from your books in our early days of Krishna Conscious journey. In fact, yours are the only books that I have managed to finish reading until the last page. My kids are really attracted to your books on Ramayana and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Maharaj, you are also a reservoir of wonderful Vaishnava qualities, of which Saralata, simplicity, is the foremost, as emphasized by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself. And Maharaj, you possess these qualities in abundance. Other qualities that attract and inspire are your strict adherence to Srila Prabhupada's instruction, straightforward, uncompromising preaching, and high standards on devotional service. You have been a pioneer in establishing Varnashrama Dharma within ISKCON through your revolutionary farm community and Gurukul project that makes it possible for one to live by the principle of simple living and high thinking. Thank you, Maharaj, for showing us by your personal example that it is possible to live simply and purely follow Srila Prabhupada's teaching, even in this most degraded age of Kali. As long as our movement have spiritual masters who teach and instruct like you, we can be rest assured that Srila Prabhupada's teaching will not be lost or diluted to the slightest extent. His Holiness Bhakti Vikasa Swami Maharaj ki jai. Now my next offering is for His Holiness Romapada Swami Maharaj. Please accept my heartfelt gratitude to you and your disciples, who are the very reason for us being here in ISKCON today. It was by the grace of His Grace Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu that we got introduced to Krishna consciousness. Our first experience of Krishna consciousness was through Prabhuji and his Bhakti Vriksha group, of which you were also a part on many occasions. They say the first impression is the last impression. Lord Krishna no doubt made sure that we had the best of that first impression. One thing that is very heartwarming is the amount of care and concern you show to anyone, whether you are disciples or otherwise, about their spiritual progress. We would also like to thank you for your wonderful classes, which only reveal how deep understanding of scriptures you have. It is very evident that you thoroughly prepare for the classes and present them systematically for us to understand step by step. We are very grateful for the Japa retreats, which helped us to understand the Nama Tattva more deeply. Some of the principles learned there are still useful today and have helped strengthen our daily japa. Last but not least, Maharaj, thank you for graciously accepting to give name to our son Murlidhar and all the showers of mercy and blessings that you have bestowed on our family. His Holiness Romapada Swami Maharaj ki, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj ki. Your humble servants, Shri Jivallavi Devidasi, Vrajaraman Das.
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति विकास स्वामी नामने। नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। So on this occasion of the combined Vyasa Puja, would like to glorify the great acharyas who are in front of us. Dear Guru Maharaj, you have given us the opportunity to connect with the parampara and practice our devotional life. So it's been almost 12 years since we first took initiation from you, Padma Devidasi and myself, and it has been a long journey since then. I have been able to personally assist you in your Eastern Europe or Central Europe tour 3 years ago along with my son, and I was able to see your qualities at a very close quarter on how you live up to the ideals of Srila Prabhupada and continuously emphasize how important it is to follow the guidance of Swami Prabhupada. And till day, you consider yourself to be still a new devotee, saying that even after 40 years of chanting, you are still trying to become a devotee. So that shows your humility and how you inspire others, your disciples, in the progress, in their progress. You talked about endurance of the devotee, and that endurance comes through deep practice of sadhana, and that endurance is needed for a devotee because the devotee has to take care of himself and also other devotees. So not only taking care of himself or herself, but also taking care of the other devotees, and that requires a very strong endurance on the part of devotees. You have been a farm leader in ISKCON and started many farm communities such as Nandagram in Gujarat, Karumandurai in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu border, Srikakulam in Andhra Pradesh. In the process of starting a few more, one in Ujjain, one somewhere in MP, and a few other locations. With your guidance, we have also been able to purchase a piece of land to start a farm community, but that's not in Seattle. That's in Wolf City, Texas, because Seattle land is too expensive. And you have blessed that project, and you have asked us to continue moving forward with that. Initially, we may not be able to be there in person. Some of the other local devotees will be managing the activities there. Over a period of time, we will also move there and continue our devotion on a farm setting. You have always called out how hellish city life is, and I've experienced that firsthand, traveling to at least 30-40 cities in America, and I know it is hell everywhere. So This farm, Varnashrama community projects are super important, not only in India but in America also. There are many projects that are coming in Radha Kalachandji Dham, and you are aware of them. And across Guru lines, many devotees are coming together and participating and building these farm communities all over America, especially in the greater Dallas area. That's where I have procured the farm under your guidance. But it takes courage to take the next step. It is very easy to just sit in a room in front of a computer, but to do something big is actually doing something small, because it's going back to where we were originally. The whole Varnashrama system is to understand what our roots are and how do we get to our roots. It is not about doing something very different. It is where we came from originally. So going back to those roots becomes very critical. So we are looking at different models. One model is Garland. One model is the Chowpatty temples model, or rather the eco-village model, which is for urban preaching. The other end of the model is totally just reliant on Varnashrama, leaving all the jobs. And you have been able to inspire engineers from Bombay and Baroda to quit their jobs, paying 1.5 to 2 lakhs a month, to go and live very, very simply in 300 square foot homes on a farm. And when I went and visited there, I didn't feel any remorse or any sadness on the people's faces. They were very happy to be in the Varnashrama community on a farm. So that seems to be the direction in which a lot is happening, especially in America, with all of the chaos that we are seeing politically, racially, and even health-wise. What was thought to be the world's greatest country has now actually practically collapsed. Even giving a vaccine has become a challenge in America. Taking care of American citizens has become a challenge. Therefore, the farm communities have become more and more important. And that endurance that you talk about in your lectures has become more and more important. So when I traveled with you as your servant in Central Europe along with my son, I committed many offenses because I did not even know the basic etiquette, although I thought I was a very good devotee, about how to serve you, how to wash your clothes, how to get things ready for you as you go to your lecture or come back from your lecture. So there's a long way for me to learn and grow in Krishna consciousness. The good news is, under the guidance of Harilas Maharaj, I have now come into the parampara, and then parampara has a lot of benefits. It's just like the bundle of sticks. Being a devotee individually is very challenging, but being with the parampara, every day I learn something new. On a simple WhatsApp group or on the online sessions or lectures and so on. Recently you also talked about, has Maya entered ISKCON, where people are trying to do balancing of their material lives with their spiritual lives. So they don't give up anything that they do before coming into ISKCON, and at the same time want to be a very good ISKCON devotee. And that's the dichotomy. And then they bring some of the material practices into ISKCON on a daily basis. And you have spoken strongly against that type of tendency that is happening, and you have condemned that, to keep the spiritual process pristine so that it can be passed on to the next generation. Whether it's on topic of female Diksha Gurus, and who knows where this is going. Will we have transgender Diksha Gurus in the future? So it's a big challenge that we have right now in terms of how things will progress. So it's important to stick to that Srila Prabhupada's original mission And that's what you're writing in your next upcoming book, The Mood and Mission of Srila Prabhupada. So what did he intended for ISKCON to be, and is there a danger that it could degenerate into something different? That is again a combination of the general degeneration of the society, and that degeneration can creep into ISKCON unless we are very careful. And that is the best aspect of what I like about your lectures, to give us warning that if we are not careful, we could get in our material propensities into the great organization ISKCON and in some way cause it to disintegrate. So that should not happen. So thank you, Guru Maharaj, for your kindness towards our family. You were very excited when I wrote an email to you that Lakshmi, my daughter Sri Lakshmi, became Lakshmi Priya Devidasi, taking initiation from His Holiness Harulas Maharaj. So you were very, very happy that she took that first step. And I'm hoping to see that my son will also take that first step pretty soon. He is inspired by Loknath Maharaj, and Loknath Maharaj, of course, is very big Maharaj in ISKCON and has great leadership responsibilities at Mayapur. So I don't know whether that will happen or not, but that's the hope, that he accepts my son into his fold. So thank you, Maharaj, for all of your continuous guidance on a daily basis. It's almost like we never left you since that European trip. Thanks to the material energy called YouTube, we are able to hear you every day, or whenever possible, if Maya has taken over a particular day of our life. So please continue to guide us, and we seek for your mercy. Radhika Gopinath Das, Padma Devidasi, Lakshmi Priya Devidasi, and Harishri. Dear Romapada Maharaj, please accept our humble obeisances. Jai Prabhupada. So you have been, I have known you since 2003 when I first moved to Seattle. We moved first to Seattle. We have been hearing your lectures since almost the second month that we came here. And I practically listened to almost all of your lectures in those days. And even within COVID, you are now giving lectures on YouTube, very, very beautiful lectures around Madhurya Kadambani, and very simple concepts. And you are a great administrator in ISKCON, and very strict about if somebody makes mistakes, how to correct them. Once I approached you and I said, will the white people listen to me when I preach? He said, why not? Go ahead and preach. You have to preach. His Holiness Hanumatpresaka Maharaj, please accept our humble obeisances. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So you, as the Director of Education in ISKCON, have transformed many programs, and I have had such great fortune from 2003 to 2008 to hear you every year when you came here, maybe barring 1 year. I tell my students that they don't have the good fortune that I had. I had close association with all these 4 Maharajas and many other Maharajas at close quarters. So whatever I learned from you, I try to teach them. Obviously they won't understand because of the purity of the voice and purity of the heart with which I am reciting the same information or the message. But hopefully one day the walk will become purified so that this knowledge can be communicated. His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, please accept our humble obeisances. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So one of the things that I noticed about your disciples, Maharaj, is that they are all excellent communicators. So they are all masters of marketing. So I have at least 1,000 people on my LinkedIn who communicate very subtle, subliminal messaging around Krishna consciousness, very subtly, through LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, etc., Facebook, etc. So you must be the doctor of marketing because they are masters of marketing. So they have been very, very effective in subliminally, because subliminal marketing is better than direct marketing. If you directly say something, people won't listen. But I'm just, on a daily basis, I'm on LinkedIn and many other social media, and I see your disciples are all over the place. There is probably not a single hour where I don't see some of your disciples mentioning something very subtly to inspire the general population in this world. And we have a long way to go. There are 8 billion people on the planet, and about 1,000 people are preaching online. There's a lot more work to be done. So I met you first in 2004 in Gitanagari, and you said very few words, but still I remember those beautiful words. So time has just concluded for my offerings. Acharya Parampara ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Your humble servants, Radhika Gopinath Das, Padma Devi Dasi, Lakshmi Priya Devi Dasi, and Hari Shri. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurinmalitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah Namama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Radhanath Swami Ti Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. On this auspicious occasion of the combined Vyasa Puja of 4 Guru Maharajas, that is His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Romapada Maharaj, His Holiness Hanumatpresaka Maharaj, and His Holiness Bhakti Vikasa Maharaj. I'm trying to make an offering, even though I am unqualified at your lotus feet. Please accept it as you feel best. Dear Radhanath Swami Maharaj, your journey home has and still is my only inspiration for coming into Krishna consciousness. You started this book with a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.42. Tvai me nanya vishaya matir madhu pates sakrit ratim udva hattad adha gange vagum udhanvati. With that, and the translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada is, O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganges flows forever to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. This verse is so true. Your love and search for the Supreme Lord took you closer and closer to Him until you met your Guru, Srila Prabhupada, who helped you get closer to Krishna, understand who He is, and motivated you to spread Krishna consciousness to millions of fallen souls around the world. In a lecture, you once said, we can lose money and get it back. We can also lose friends and get them back. But if we lose a moment, we cannot get the moment back. This is the most precious thing we have, the moment. The choices we make in each moment determine not only our experience, but also our destination. Your whole journey from the suburbs of Chicago to the Himalayas and the holy land of Vrindavan was only because of the choices you had made in every moment of your life. These choices you had made affected every aspect of your life. And because you made these choices, it affects the life of me and my family and other souls like us. There were many situations Krishna planned for you to start on your journey home. In the 1960s, the bankruptcy and the problems your family faced when your father's car dealer business failed made you realize the unconditional love your mother had on you and 2 other brothers. Generally, people don't realize this unless they grow up or their mothers die. You saw her selflessly working and doing everything to make ends meet without complaining and loving you all. To help her, to help your family, and to make it easy, and not to increase your burden on your family, you got a job while you were 15 years old. At work, most of your colleagues were African Americans. But even though the Constitution and the Bill of Rights gave freedom to all, it was nothing like it. The freedom was only in the books. You did not see that happening in the factory. Your African American colleagues were battered, bruised, they were sad, confused, and they had no choice on their freedom. It was like that they take birth in the ghetto and finally die there. America was supposed to be the land of the free and opportunities, but it only applied if you are of a certain color. This was very painful, confusing, and hypocritical to you. At the same time, young men above the age of 18 were drafted and sent to the Vietnam War to kill or die for a purpose they did not believe in. You saw the rebellious music revolution that was about love and peace and rejecting the norms of values of parents. In those days, the ways of the parents' generation did not make any sense to your generation. You also joined the march of Martin Luther King, and in that march you got rebuked and attacked by your white brothers and sisters. You were taught about protecting your freedom, and for the same you were clubbed and beaten down by the police for being a part of a peaceful convention to question the validity of the Vietnam War. All these incidents in your teenage years confused and pained you a lot. You felt that if you cannot find answers to all these confusion, then your life is of no use. But these thoughts and confusion you had in you brought you to another realization. It was the people you were supporting, and the realization was that it was the people that you were supporting also had the same issues as the people you were fighting against. The only difference being that the nature of issues were different. There was still ego, prejudice, anger, envy, and hatred on both the sides. Then, in another occasion, you heard Martin Luther King saying, "If a man cannot discover something that he will die for, he isn't fit to live." You also heard Gandhi saying, "Be the change you want to see in the world." You heard a song that went like, "Look into the soul for the answers." All these situations led you towards your transformation, and little by little you realized that you were turning to spirituality. You realized that you needed to make a change in your own life to make a change within the world. You felt that otherwise whatever was being done was superficial. You realized that you had to overcome vengeance, envy, and hate. You wanted to be the change you wanted to see. Then one day your best friend Gary and another friend of his, Frank, wanted you to join them in a trip to Europe. Despite stiff resistance from your parents, you still went. In Europe, you reached Luxembourg, where Frank was robbed and he returned back. But you and Gary stayed back. On that day, you sat at the side of a creek and seeing the water flow, you were thinking where destiny was going to lead me. At that time, you had a realization that you are not the controller, and you had to adapt and adjust to different situations destiny had in store for you. You started hitchhiking and leaving your next destination to wherever the hitchhikers were going. In this journey, you realized that you had a calling from within for inner meaning and fulfillment. In a program in Woodstock, in a music festival, you were sitting basically about 8 or 10 yards from the stage, and the speakers were blasting in your ears. But all that loud music didn't make any impact on you, and kind of made your ears deaf to those sounds, because there was an inner calling in you which was kind of looming above all those noises. In your search, in this, and from then onwards, you had your constant search for inner meaning and fulfillment. In this search, in one of your meditations, you heard 3 words: go to India. This was really a calling from within. And next day, you told your friend Gary that you were going to India, and then from there you left. En route, you came across many people who taught you many things. You learned that the essence of all religion is to love God and to be a compassionate instrument of God's love to everyone. You wanted to find that. You started on your journey to India. You did not know where India was, but you knew that you will reach India if you travel east. At the border between Greece and Turkey, you had to make a very difficult choice. The Greek guards told you to go back because there was cholera raging in Turkey, and they were not allowing anyone from Turkey into Greece. Even though you knew there was no way back into Greece, you took the difficult decision to go to Turkey along with 2 others. This shows how much determination you had and how much faith you had on the inner calling that you had within you. You had to brave the 1.5 hours of walk through pitch darkness and a path infested with snakes and wolves. It's so obvious that Krishna was guiding you at every step and through every difficulty. Then, after crossing through Turkey, Iran, you finally reached Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, you had a strange incident. You sat with a mongoose on your neck for hours. Even though it was very painful, you realized that God sent this mongoose to you to teach you patience. So with that realization, you were able to endure and forget the pain that the mongoose put upon you for the 6 hours in the night. And that patience was what was needed most in spiritual life and in every situation in your journey from there onwards. Next, you were confronted by the immigration officers in the India border. The officers could finally see the determination and sincerity in your purpose and in the tears that flowed from your eyes. And then they finally allowed you to enter India. In India, you went to Himalayas and started meditating on the banks of the river Ganga. There was an incident where a sadhu appeared from nowhere and asked you to shed your jeans and t-shirt. And he gave you the robes of a sadhu, and he just disappeared. You never saw him again. You were ready to give up every bit of your Western clothes. This shows your propensity for austerity. After your time in the Himalayas and other places, you met your spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who singled you out from a large group of devotees to come and sit next to him. Since then, you were following the instructions of your Guru Maharaj and God brothers to spread the message of Krishna consciousness and Harinam throughout the world. You have been instrumental in very big projects like the Bhaktivedanta Hospital and Govardhan Eco Village. Your yatras have given a lot of solace and opportunity to recharge themselves every year to thousands of people around the world. Your life has been an inspiration to me and my family. I pray at your lotus feet that I stay in your shelter and keep serving you and Srila Prabhupada's mission. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Srila Bhakti Vikasa Swami Maharaj. All obeisances at your lotus feet. I met you first in Mysore in 2013 when you had come there for a visit. And it was the first time I was coming so close and in touch with the ISKCON Guru. The lecture that you gave on that day in the small temple that we had in Mysore was actually very moving, and it was very enlightening to all of us at that time. So after the lecture, we came to you and we asked you, and I asked you a question. I still remember that question. I asked you, however much I try chanting or following the path of Krishna consciousness, I always get distracted. So his answer was to be that you need to have determination. So he just ended that in one word, and that basically even sticks to me even today. So I'm still distracted, but whenever I get distracted, I remember these words from you, Maharaj. Thanks a lot for that. And on the same day, you had signed a Bhagavad Gita for me, which I still carry as my personal copy wherever I go. Hare Krishna, Srila Bhakti Charu Bhakti Romapada Maharaj and Hanumatpresaka Maharaj. I don't have much interactions with you, so please accept my humble obeisance at your lotus feet. All Guru Srila Prabhupada.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamini Namaste Saraswati Deve Guruvani Pucharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sridvaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, thank you, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada, Patita Pavane Ki Jai, Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hare Bol. Today we are celebrating the combined Vyasa Puja celebration for 4 of our August Gurus, His Holiness Bhakti Vikasa Maharaj and Radhanath Swami Maharaj, Hanumatpresaka Maharaj and Romapada Swami Maharaj. And it's a great and humbling honor for me to speak about them. I know them all very intimately, and they are all sincere and dedicated servants of Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj. They've all dedicated their lives to pleasing Prabhupada by offering sincere service, especially preaching unabashedly throughout the world and even the most remote places to spread the message of Lord Krishna, or Krishna Upadesh, and without any prejudice to caste or any material designation, because they have spiritual vision. And that spiritual vision is explained in Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, 35th verse, Yajgatvana punar mohan evan yasyasi pandava yena bhut nidrakshasi atmani atomayi. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, after explaining the absolute necessity of accepting a bona fide spiritual master, tatvidi paripatena paripasnena sevaya upadeksyami te jnanam jnaninas tatvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you, because the self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So then the next verse, Yazgatvana punar mohan evam yasyasi pandava in Bhutani se sanidraksha se atmani atomayi. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul or spiritual master, you will never fall again into such illusion. What is the illusion? Thinking that I am this body, and everything in relationship with this body is mine, and therefore my purpose in life is to make money and spend that money on myself and my family and my relatives for sense gratification. For by this knowledge you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine. So Krishna is saying, basically here, that everyone, all living entities, not only human beings, but the aquatics, the insects, and the birds, and the reptiles, and the plants, and the mammals, and the human beings, all the way from the asuras all the way up to the demigods, they're all expansions of Krishna. We are all part and parcel of the Lord. Mamayavamsa, Jiva Bhuta, Jivaloka, Sanatana. We are eternal parts and parcels. That means that originally we were all with God, or Krishna, but by bad choices we decided to separate ourselves and come to the material world to try and be a little God ourselves. So Krishna is saying that if one receives real knowledge from a self-realized soul, at that time one realizes that my real identity, that my eternal identity is as part and parcel of the Lord, or in another way it's said, a constituent part and parcel of the Lord. That's who we really are. This family that we're born into now is a temporary thing, but the eternal relationship that we have is with Krishna. And therefore, if we can become free of the illusion of this material world based on bodily conception of life, and the way to do that is by regularly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, spoken by genuine devotees in a systematic way, then the results of receiving knowledge from a self-realized soul, or one who knows things as they are, is learning that all living beings are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. This is who we really are. This is our real identity. This is our real constitutional position, to be subordinate to the Lord and always fixing our mind on pleasing the Lord through acts of devotion. That's who we really are. We're not white, black, or yellow, or brown, or whatever. because the body is only a temporary covering of the soul. And we know it's temporary because it's constantly changing, and then the ultimate change is at the moment of death. So devotees who have been fortunate enough to meet a bona fide spiritual master like Srila Prabhupada and the acharyas that we are honoring today are no longer bewildered. And therefore, Lord Shri Krishna explains that the sense of existence separate from God or Krishna is called Maya. Ma means not, and Ya means this. Something that we have nothing to do with Krishna, that Krishna is only a great historical personality, and that the Absolute is the impersonal Brahman. Factually, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, this impersonal Brahman is the personal effulgence of Lord Krishna. Krishna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the cause of everything. In the Brahma Samhita, it's clearly stated that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes. Even the millions of incarnations are only his different expansions. Similarly, the living entities are also expansions of Krishna. The Mayavadi philosophers wrongly think that Krishna loses his own separate existence in his many expansions. This thought is material in nature. We have experienced in the material world that a thing, when fragmentally distributed, loses its own original identity. But the Mayavadi philosophers fail to understand that absolute means that 1 plus 1 equals 1, and 1 minus 1 is equal to 1. This is the case in the absolute spiritual world. So, Om Purnam Ada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Visishyate. The Supreme Lord, Krishna, is perfect and complete. And everything that emanates from him also is perfect and complete. And even though infinite unities, perfect and complete, are emanating from the Lord, still he remains perfect and complete. He's not diminished in any way. So obviously, if we entertain a material concept of Krishna, we remain an atheist. If we accept the explanation of Krishna by himself and great devotees like Brahma, Lord Brahma himself, the first created living being, or Narada Muni, Brahma's direct disciple, or Vyasa Deva, Narada Muni's direct disciple, then if we accept their words, their explanations, and their realizations, then we become enlightened. They are all our gurus, and Krishna is the original guru. So, the only problem we have is lacking sufficient knowledge in the science of understanding Krishna. And because of that, we're covered with many different layers of illusory thoughts. We come from monkeys. The purpose of life is to enjoy sex and money and different gadgets and cars and airplanes and all these things. And we surround ourselves with fruitless labor because at the moment of death, we don't know what's going to happen next. So many people just develop the hope, and it's only a hope, that there's nothing after death. There's no responsibility to any supreme being. You just die and that's it. But that's not a fact. So therefore, people are unnecessarily suffering in this life due to ignorance. So for want of sufficient knowledge in the absolute science, people are covered with the illusion, and they think that they are separate from Krishna. They're not related to God in any way. So this can be remedied. In fact, there's a very nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 1st chapter, 13th verse. And in the purport, well, the verse is spoken by the sages of Naimisharanya to Sutta Goswami, and they say, We are eager, O Sutta Goswami, to learn about the personality of Godhead and his incarnations. Please explain to us those teachings imparted by previous masters or acharyas, for one is uplifted both by speaking them and by hearing them. So that's what we do in this temple every day. We speak about Krishna and people hear about Krishna. That's not what's happening on the radio or the television. Most of the time, they're speaking about politics, sports, how to make more money, and so forth. And people are, instead of becoming purified, they become contaminated by misconceptions about what is the purpose of life. So the conditions for hearing the transcendental message of the Absolute Truth, or Bhagavad Gita spoken by Krishna, are set forth herein. The first condition is that the audience must be very sincere and eager to hear. And the speaker must be in the line of disciplic succession from the recognized acharyas. For one is uplifted both by speaking them and by hearing them. So the person who speaks is enlightened, and the person who hears is enlightened in such an audience. The transcendental message of the Absolute is not understandable by those who are materially absorbed. Under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, one becomes gradually purified. Therefore, one must be in the chain of disciplic succession and learn the spiritual art of submissive hearing. This is an art form, submissive hearing. So, today, people are listening to so many different subjects: how to flip houses and make money, how to make money on the stock market, how to make money by buying bitcoins, and so many different strategies to do that. It's all nonsense. It's all a waste of time. It's all a fruitless activity. We have to first realize what are the real problems of life. The real problems of life are birth, old age, disease, and death. Those are the real problems of life. And therefore, our purpose in life should be to find a solution to these problems. You're not going to find a solution to health care. You're not going to find a solution to the debt of the United States. You're not going to find a solution to so many things. But you can find a solution to these essential problems that concern every one of us: birth, death, old age, and disease. And the beginning of the wisdom by which we can become free of this vicious cycle called the cycle of samsara is to understand that this body is simply a temporary covering of our eternal soul. The eternal soul in the body is who we really are. And we're bewildered by the body. First of all, we cannot say, I am this body, although everybody says that, because the next question would be, which body are you talking about? Are you talking about the body you had? Are you talking about that little fish that was swimming and came from your father to your mother and joined with an ovum? That little fish who was you, is microscopic. You can't even see it with the bare eye. You need a microscope to see it. Would you deny that that was you? Was there anyone who would dare to deny that that was you originally? I don't think so. And then once it conjugated with the ovum, which supplies the ingredients to grow a body, but all the knowledge, all the data to build the body was in that little fish called a sperm, which is microscopic. And once they connect, then the growth begins. And it's a complicated growth. There's nothing that man has ever made which is as complicated as the human body. The human body has thousands, sometimes millions of functions that are all synchronated and are working in sync perfectly. So when that little baby comes out of the womb of the mother, it has everything inherent in it to grow into an adult. And it started from a little fish called a sperm that carried all the data to make that body into what it is when it comes out as a little baby, with head and legs and arms and intestinal tract and blood and plasma and ligaments and bones and tendons and veins and all these things that are complicated, and the eye, which is an extremely complicated instrument, optical instrument. We don't think about these things because we're so preoccupied with eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But those 4 activities are activities of animals. To distinguish ourselves from being an animal, we have to engage in the research of Atma Tattva. What is the nature of the soul? What is my relationship with God, and how can I build that relationship? And that's built up by devotional service. So, the pure devotees of the Lord who become spiritual masters and spiritual mentors, they are more powerful than the waters of the sacred river Ganges. They can purify a person who's willing to listen to regular discourses by such persons. One can derive spiritual benefit out of prolonged use of the Ganges water, but one can be sanctified at once by the mercy of a pure devotee of the Lord. This is a fact. Just like we are celebrating today the four acharyas. And we've already heard other people speak. Some of them, they're disciples, some of them initiated by them, or some others who accept them as shiksha gurus, teachers. Simply a little bit of association with such people, and one becomes purified of the illusion that I am this body. This is the number one illusion that people are under. And the body extends itself in the form of family, and in the form of ethnic group, in the form of a nation, and people get caught up in this network of false identifications, and with each false identifications there are false responsibilities, and with each false responsibility there are years and years of wasted human endeavor. And at the moment of death, we realized, wait a minute, I wasted my whole life. I don't know what's going to happen right now to me. I'm going to die, and I don't know what's going to happen. My only hope is, I hope nothing happens. I hope when I die there's nothing, but that's not a fact. So you see the dilemma that people are in, that are wasting their time, eating, sleeping, and mating like animals, and not using or not trying to achieve the real human potential. And Narada Muni once said, the great sages who had imparted scientific knowledge of transcendence to me departed for other places, and I had to pass my life in this way. So Narada Muni was just a little boy, but at that time he associated with great devotees for a short period of time, and that influenced the rest of his life. And in his next life he became Narada Muni, the most famous saintly person in the universe. And he's also the guru of Vyasa Deva, who is an incarnation of Krishna, and he wrote all the Vedas. So we see from the humble beginning as the son of a single parent, his mother, he didn't know who his father was, and she was very poor. But because of his great fortune to associate with pure devotees for a short period of time, 4 months, he became totally enlightened, and he became, in his next life, the greatest sage that's ever existed in the universe. So he was basically impregnated with spiritual knowledge by the grace of these great sages. There were 4 of them. And there was a tangible change in his life. That's what happens when one is initiated by a bona fide guru. There's a tangible change in their life. Just like many people have come to this temple in the past, and by associating with the devotees in this temple, and hearing acharyas like the four that we're honoring today, it changed their life significantly. I know one devotee, before he had any contact with this temple, his great pride and joy was his wine cellar in his house. And anybody that came to visit him, the main attraction was the wine cellar. He would take him downstairs and show him his collection of expensive wines. But once he started associating with the devotees here, guess what? He decided to throw away all that expensive wine. And he had collected over a number of years because he had a very good job and a very good salary. I would say maybe $30,000 worth of wine in his cellar. And he threw it away. He didn't even give it away. He threw it away. So we see that when you approach a bona fide spiritual master and you're willing to hear, to take advice from such a person, then there is a tangible change in one's life. And this is an important symptom that's visible after initiation by a bona fide spiritual master. Actual association of devotees brings about a quick change in the life for spiritual realization. And how that happens is described. It says, that the spiritual master will give knowledge to the disciple of how to organize his daily routine. So it is take rest early, wake up early, at least 1.5 hours before sunrise, and take a bath and begin to chant your the prescribed number of rounds, and also come to Mangal Arti in the temple if you live close enough. If not, you have an Arti ceremony in your own house, and you chant minimum 16 good rounds in the morning time, early morning time, and then hear Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by a genuine devotee. And there's so many genuine devotees now online teaching every day this Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And then offer some simple food, breakfast, to Krishna and your Guru, to your Guru and to Krishna, and then respect the remnants, and now you're ready to face the world. You go out and earn a living honestly, but your activity, your main interest is to please Guru and Krishna. That is a formula for success. And if we inherit this formula for success, then everything you do in your life will be successful. Because success means you remain steady in devotional service. And through devotional service, you build up your relationship with Krishna. And when Krishna sees your sincerity, he promises to protect you. Protect you, protect your family, protect your relatives. You can't do it on your own, but if Krishna is on your side, you can do it. And the Krishna promises. It says, Sarva dharman prityaja mam ekam saranam brajaham tvam sarva papepyo moksisami ma suchaha. He says, just give up all your fabricated dharmas, surrender unto me only. And if you do this, I promise you that I'll free you from all your previous karma. Therefore, you have nothing to fear and nothing to hesitate for. So this is the ultimate message of Krishna and the Bhagavad Gita, so that we can develop the daily practices that endear us to Krishna. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyajimam namaskuru mami vaisisi satyam te pratijane priyosime. Krishna says, always think of me, manmana bhakta, become my devotee. Madhyaji, worship me. Mamana bhakta madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Offer your praise and your homage to me. If you do this, I promise you that you will come back to me because you become very dear to me. So this endearment to Krishna is the symbol of a devotee's success, when he actually develops affection and love for the Lord and shows it through constant acts of devotion to the Lord and being very steady in devotional service. That's the real sign of spiritual advancement. Steadiness and regularity in performing devotional service. So, it says in the first canto, 5th chapter, 38th verse, thus he, or the devotee candidate, is the actual seer who worships in the form of transcendental sound representation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who has no material form. So, Srila Prabhupada explains, our present senses are all made of material elements, and therefore they are imperfect in realizing the transcendental form of Lord Vishnu, or Krishna. He is therefore worshipped by sound representation via the transcendental method of chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We worship Krishna through the sound representation of the Lord, which is non-different from him. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purnag Sudhanitya Mukto Vinatvam Namanamino. That this name, Krishna, and Krishna himself are non-different, because the Lord is absolute. That means that anything in relationship to the Lord is also absolute, such as his holy name, such as his holy Dhamma or place, such as his holy pastimes, the Rasa Lila and his relationship with his devotees. All these things are holy because he's absolute. And therefore, the sound vibration of his name and his transcendental activities puts us directly in contact with Krishna. Prabhupada writes, our present senses are all made of material elements, and therefore they are imperfect in realizing the transcendental form of the Lord. He is therefore worshipped by sound representation via the transcendental method of chanting. Anything which is beyond the scope of experience by our imperfect senses can be realized fully by the sound representation. A person transmitting sound from a far distant place can be factually experienced. If this is materially possible, why not spiritually? This experience is not a vague, impersonal experience. It is actually an experience of the transcendental personality of Godhead, who possesses the pure form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. The transcendental form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge can be experienced by our original spiritual senses, which can be revived by chanting of the holy mantras or the transcendental sound representations of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Such sound should be received from the transparent agency of the bona fide spiritual master, and the chanting may be practiced by the direction of the spiritual master. That will gradually lead us nearer to the Lord. This method of worship is recommended in the Pancharatrika system, which is both recognized and authorized. The Pancharatrika system has the most authorized codes for transcendental devotional service. Without the help of such codes, one cannot approach the Lord, certainly not by dry philosophical speculation. The Pancharatrika system is both practical and suitable for this age of quarrel. The Pancharatra is more important than the Vedanta for this modern age. So we see that the book written by Narada Muni, the Pancharatra, is more important than the Vedanta Sutra, because it gives direct knowledge of who is Krishna and how to connect always with Krishna through devotional service, and especially by chanting the holy mantra, Hare Krishna. So, this is extremely important. Now, Narada Muni is, of course, the guru of Srila Vyasadeva. And Srila Vyasadeva said, all you have said about me is perfectly correct. Despite all this, I am not pacified. I therefore question you about the root cause of my dissatisfaction. For you are a man of unlimited knowledge, due to your being the offspring of one Brahma, who is self-born, without mundane father and mother. Yeah, Brahman is born as the mental child of Lord Krishna. So, we see here in the material world that everyone is engrossed in the idea of identifying with the material body or mind as the self. As such, all knowledge disseminated in the material world is related either to the body or with the mind, and that is the root cause of all despondencies. Now, how many people are despondent today? Many. In fact, most of the population is despondent because there's always some overriding problem. Many of those problems are artificially created in order to exploit people, and some are genuinely real also, like the earthquakes and the windstorms and the tidal waves and the flooding and the earthquakes and the viruses and war and political upheaval and the threat of losing a job, and the threat of losing your home. All these things are real. And because of that, people become despondent. That's why so many pharmaceutical companies make psychologically altering drugs to help people forget their despondency. But it doesn't change anything. It doesn't heal their despondency. They just forget about it for a short while under the influence of the drug. But here, the Srimad Bhagavatam has a definitive cure for all misery and despondency. And that cure has two components to it. One is the diet, and the other is knowledge. So the diet is Mahaprasadam, food, vegetarian food offered with love and devotion to the Lord, and then the Lord returns the favor by giving that food back as his prasadam, or his sanctified food. And by eating such sanctified food, one becomes purified. So, this is a simple method. Anyone can do this. But no one will do it because they don't believe in God. They believe in matter only. They don't have any authorized or bona fide knowledge of who Krishna is. They have no inkling of the power and glory of the Lord because they don't listen. They just walk in and walk out. But listening to the words of transcendental knowledge, such as Bhagavad Gita, which was spoken originally by Krishna himself. So who knows God better than God himself? If you want to know anything about God, you must hear Bhagavad Gita spoken by a genuine devotee. And then the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is spoken about Krishna by the greatest sages of ancient India. Sukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami, Sonaka Rishi, Narada Muni himself, Vyasa Deva himself, Lord Brahma himself, and so many great acharyas, the Alvars and the Vaishnava acharyas in North India, the Alvars in South India, and so forth. These people have spent many years in painstaking effort preserving this transcendental Vedic knowledge so that everyone has a chance, regardless of their caste, regardless of their economic position, regardless whether they're literate or illiterate, everyone has a chance to chant Hare Krishna, accept Mahaprasadam, have darshan of the deities, and hear this transcendental knowledge that is liberating from the whole cycle of birth and death. That's a solution to all problems of life. And one becomes, instead of being despondent, they become transcendentally happy because knowledge is freedom. Knowledge is liberating. Genuine knowledge, not phony knowledge like how to flip houses and buy and sell cars and deal on the stock market. That knowledge is not liberating. That knowledge is entangling. but the knowledge of how to engage in the devotional service of the Lord and build up a significant and consequent relationship with the Lord, that is liberating, because you're no longer dealing with asat, you're dealing with sat, or transcendental Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so we'll stop right there. We want to thank our 4 acharyas today, and being able to say kind words about them and the whole process of Krishna consciousness enlivens people and gives them hope and aspiration that they too can make spiritual progress. They too can elevate their consciousness in spite of all the different problems in this world. They too have a genuine right to be happy and eternally blessed and liberated from the cycle of birth and death. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Is there any questions?